Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, wherever you are in the world, because we're on Zoom. I'm just delighted today to have with us two representatives from the Army Music Program. We have Warrant Officer Brooke Woods with us, and we have Sergeant First Class Rafael Velez with us. Some of you might know Rafael. He's been around Jacobs a couple of times here. And we're just so happy that they've joined us today to talk with you, answer your questions, and talk with you about careers in Army music. So Ms. Woods, please tell us about yourself and tell us about the Army Band.
Sure. So a little bit about myself. I did my undergraduate at Ohio University in music education, and I followed that on with my master's degree as well at Ohio University in conducting. I did not know anything about the Army bands when I was in high school or my freshman year of college. I actually found out about it working my summer job at an ice cream shop, and I found a flyer for a reserve band coming to play for a 4th of July event. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is perfect for someone like me who wants to be an educator, but also serve the country part-time in a reserve band. We all know about the premier bands in Washington as a musician, but the reserves are kind of exclusive. And unless one comes to the area or you know someone in the reserves, it's kind of a hidden gem, I would say, in the Army. So that's why I wanted to get on here and talk to you and hopefully your students and spread the word and maybe get some people interested in joining.
Hi, so I'm a bass player for the Army. My current position is actually auditions coordinator for all the regional bands, but I also represent the other bands, the premier bands, when they're not present. In this case, I did my bachelor's degree at Florida International University, and then I did my master's at University of Miami in Florida. And I'm currently finishing my doctorate at Shenandoah Conservatory in Winchester. Been serving for 15 years now, approximately. I've enjoyed every single moment of it. I tell everybody it's something that I did not think at first, and then I tried it. I've done multiple auditions with the premier bands, gotten second, and I've had all these great experiences with all these different bands, traveling. It's been really great. So especially in these times, it's been chaotic, and it's been nice to be able to know that I have a steady paycheck, and I've met many great musicians, and especially in this position, a lot of young musicians are coming in. They're getting younger and younger and better. It's like, I've at 18, 19, I wasn't playing like most of you all out there. It's great because there's a future out there for music. There still is, and that's still my high hopes about this career and about music in general, not just in the Army bands, but for me, the investment that we still have and cherish on music.
You did mention that you're getting ready to defend your dissertation.
Yes.
So it sounds like then participating in music full time and having a career and also continuing your education is something that's available through the Army?
Yes, correct. Like I tell everybody, if a person who's married with 2 kids, well, first of all, I have a very supportive wife. So I would say that she's very supportive and she's doing her certification. But if I can do it, anybody can do it. Anybody can find a way to take those benefits. Miss Woods in the reserve, she took advantage of her benefits. I'm taking advantage of my benefits because they're there for us. They're there for us to use. And because if we don't use it, we're going to lose them. Like we say in the Army, typically, it's one of those things that we don't understand and we don't embrace. It's like we're gonna work, but we're gonna be able to do these things because that's who we are. That's what the Army provides for all of us.
Ms. Woods, you're doing a little tour through the area right now. So is your reserve band currently auditioning for positions?
Yes, we are accepting and we are auditioning. We're looking for trumpet players, horn players, as well as clarinet and flute. So we're pushing big for those instruments. Something that might be interesting to your students, just on the reserve side, I know they see Sergeant Velez, familiar face, but also because the reserve band is a little bit farther down in Fort Knox, they may not get an opportunity to kind of see what we do and what we play and things like that. But So your music education students are probably going to go out and hopefully find a teaching gig right after they graduate. And a lot of times with teachers, they don't get the opportunity to play anymore once they are participating with marching band, and then they have basketball season come around. And being in the Army Reserves, where you're serving 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks out of the summer on a music tour, there's still the opportunity for those types of people as music educators to play and stay up on their instrument and have performance opportunities. So that's one really great option for those music education students that are getting ready to go out into the field, and they're maybe a little disappointed that they won't be playing in an ensemble necessarily anymore. So my band in particular at Fort Knox is filled with almost all music educators. So it's just a great opportunity for them.
That's wonderful. And that's something you led into another question that I had. Can you just, for those that may not know really, what are the differences between sort of regular Army service and service in the Army Reserves?
So there's 3 big differences. One is the premier band, which I think is everyone's dream to hopefully get in somewhere in a premier band. And then you have the active duty band, which is full-time, 9 to 5, living on a military base and serving all the time, playing music a lot more than the reserves. Reserves could be anywhere. We have almost a reserve band in every single state or just about. So if you're thinking of reserves and want to stay close to home or close to the first job, you could probably find one in your state or close by. And with the reserves, your requirement is just 1 week in a month, which is going to be rehearsals, Saturday and Sunday, and then 2 weeks out of the summer. And that is a 2-week summer tour that we prep for pretty much all year long. And it usually kicks off around 4th of July, and we're doing a lot of patriotic type of performances.
So Ms. Woods, before we started our recording, you mentioned that you're a saxophone player and then received your master's degree in conducting. So this question is for either one of you. In addition to performance opportunities, can you talk to us a little bit about composing, arranging, conducting, other roles within the music profession that you intersect with or train for?
So when you enlist, you're going to enlist as a musician on whatever instrument or voice, or we even have music engineers now, which is amazing. So you could enlist in that front. But once you get in, there's opportunities to arrange within the band. We have a resident arranger in my band who does arrangements for us whenever we need. And the same thing goes for active duty. If you have really good arranging skills and they need something for, I don't know, like a Latin set or something, they'll employ those skills that that person has to really make the most out of everything you bring to the table in whatever Army band that you're serving in. Conducting is a little bit different. So when you want to become a conductor like I did, you have to audition to become a conductor for the band. Usually you start out as an enlisted person like I did on saxophone. And then after a few years, after you get more training, educational training and conducting and rehearsing and all that good stuff, then you can audition and hopefully win a position and conduct the band.
I wanted to add some of the things to that. In the band, we also, in active duty, sometimes there is opportunities for enlisted to do some conductings because we do more activities and we're more spread out in occasions as to the reserves and other bands in the area that are part-time. So it varies composition-wise. Sometimes you have a request that comes in from the general, or I've had a few requests come in from special guests that are coming in. You have somebody who can arrange in the group. One of my first experiences at TRADOC in Virginia, we had the Korean general come in, and one of our guys arranged, and he was Korean. He arranged one of the pieces, a typical folk song, and he did it for jazz combo, and it sounded great. So again, it's an opportunity to not just play, but to also expand on your skills. Sometimes in my case, what we call operations. I'm the one who coordinates. When I'm in the band, I coordinate these gigs for us. I talk to the people. Hey, we're going to be there at 5. We're going to set up and all that stuff. those skills come in handy. Those are the other skills that we have because the way we work, we do everything in house. Some of us will do um, purchase requests. They buy our instruments, they buy our reeds, they buy our mouthpieces, they buy music, they buy chairs if we need new chairs and stuff like that. So again, those are the things that you will learn in the Army along with just playing. And those things you will be marked. And like Miss Brooks said, we have a lot of the reserve and a lot of the bands in the area have that teachers who are mostly teachers because they want to play in the week on the weekends. They want to keep their skills. They want to be able to not just teach music but also play and have the same enjoyment that their students having for themselves.
We've got a great question that's dropped into the chat. Edmund, would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, hi. I was just wondering if there's a minimum year requirement if you were able to get into a premier ensemble.
Yes, yes. Usually it's a 4-year term.
What kind of education do you get ongoing if you are to make it? I'm a vocalist, so if I were to make it into a premier choir or something like that, what kind of education do you, if any, do you get during that
Well,
4 years?
it's going to depend on you. And like I tell everybody, I decided to do my doctorate in performance. It's very challenging, but it's doable. Some people decide to do some other degree on. I have a friend of mine who did it on organizational leadership. It's going to really depend on you. It's going to depend on how you can navigate your commitments and then what you want to do with your life. Where do you see yourself in 20 years? In the DC area, you have a lot of great universities. Shenandoah is actually one of the ones that's near DC, where you can do a master's and a doctorate in vocal performance. So again, it's going to depend on your willingness and the way you maneuver your life with a job. Now, when you're performing, there's a lot of flexibility because you know your schedule and you know your stuff. And I don't recommend if you do come in right away, wait 6 months, learn the pace of the job, and then start. So if you do win a premier job or and whatever you go for, scout around the area, what schools they have, what programs attract you to finish your graduate degrees, and really look into the programs that you're looking for and see what flexibility they offer you. And there's also some great programs through Berkeley that the Army does pay for. So again, there's a lot of online stuff, a lot of stuff that's available. You just got to know how to maneuver and use the benefits.
Awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sergeant Velez, we were able to send out information about the current vocal openings that you sent to us. Do you want to talk a little bit more about what the current vocal openings are?
Sure. So they have 5 vocal openings at the field band. One of them is alto. So for us males out there, that's going to be a little hard for us to do. But they have the other 4, which is hip hop, Latin, pop rock, and I can't remember the last one. But it's really, they're trying to expand their repertoire and their availability of what they have on access online due to the current situation that we're all going through. They have a need for this. And this might be, you might want to do 4 years and do something else. Some people take this job and they understand that, something else comes available and they move on to something else, or they want to stay. They're open for that. They just want to they want to try this out. They want to really give it a try because we're changing. These times are changing. There's no doubt about that. And we know there's a lot of talent out there. So they want to make sure that this product that they're trying to portray, it gets seen and shows what the Army does, because there's a lot of great musicians in the Army, the reserve, the premier bands, the regional bands, the National Guard bands, everything. We have a great pool of people that can actually just play your socks off. It's great. It's really great to know that you go to work with great musicians and great people. Not only that, that we can be able to talk to each other and support each other.
I'd like to jump in and just as a follow-up to what you've just said, you know, in all the times that we've connected with military bands and music ensembles of different kinds, I've been really struck at how innovative the military is in the music realm, and it's sort of like the inverse to what people normally think when they think about going into the military. They think it's sort of maybe a little old fashioned or a little like, you know, traditional, and the reality is, from what I've heard, it's incredibly like you know, experimental in some ways and innovative and leaning into, as you said earlier on, Sergeant Velez, you know, you were talking about responding to the public, responding to where you know, where the country is.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about what it's like to be a creative musician in the military?
I always talk about the creativeness like Stravinsky. Uh, I'm sure we're all familiar with the soldier story, the Stoa, right? You know, it's kind of a real weird instrumentation, but it works. So same thing happens with us, and I take the Stravinsky story with me because sometimes when you're in a situation like we're always changing musicians. Sometimes you need a trio, but you only have two clarinets and a bass player. So there you have the bass line and you have the two melody and you have the accompaniment. So you'll find yourself in that moment where, hey, we want a Lady Gaga tune. All right, great, but we only have two clarinets and a bass. So this is where Miss Wood's composition, talking about, you know, you have creative people, you know, you see this on the internet. We have to come up with that because we actually experiment that. You know, if the general or their spouse or, like I said, VIP comes in, but we don't have enough space, we have to create something. We do it because we have the talent. When you work with really good, talented people in music, you can make anything happen. And I always think of Stravinsky because he knew his musicians and he knew how to make it happen. And I think that's how we work. People don't see that because some of the activities that we play at are not open to the public, you know, and that's why we have the jobs that we have, because we have talented people, and we're always looking for that talent that can flourish within our groups.
What do you think? That's great. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Woods, what do you think?
Well, I would agree with what Sergeant Velez said, but we're also very creative people being musicians. We're all artists at heart. And I think being in the academic setting for so long, you're in high school, and then you go on to college and maybe master's, doctorate level, and you're in this academic setting for so long. Once you get into the performing world or the military performing world, you have an outlet that you've never experienced before, because you now have a foundation where you have a reliable paycheck. So you're not worried about that. You have performance opportunities that are never ending. And you have the equipment that you need provided to you, the best of the best equipment. And you put all that together, and then you see creativity start to flourish in ways that maybe were hindered because of just life outside of that realm.
That's great. Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting that you mention equipment. It sounds like, you know, the ensembles are very well taken care of in terms of instruments and anything else that they might need, music, technology. Now with the whole shift to a more virtual, you know, people are doing a lot more virtual performing, and it sounds like you know, everybody's sort of leaning into those changes and making it possible for musicians to think in different ways, right?
I think we all are. I think we all are. I'm sure. I know you all are, and different schools are going through this phase. As musicians, we need to grow and we need to expand. Again, we are all a part of this, and we're learning from each other. To be honest, and again, I go back to the talent. When you have the talent, these things are really possible, and so we appreciate, you know, IU for embracing great musicianship, and that helps us do our jobs.
Miss Woods, what about vocal opportunities with the reserve bands?
Every reserve band has a vocal position. We currently had two until like a week ago, and we lost our male vocalist to the premier band. So people do join the reserves and leave us to go to the premier band. It is an option to start reserve or active duty and go that route. And one of our guys did. We miss him a lot because he was outstanding, but we have a female vocalist as well. And she's actually getting ready to go and be the instructor at the Army School of Music. So there are so many opportunities in the reserves. Just because it's part-time doesn't mean you're limited to all the other positions out there in the Army band field. So every reserve band has a vocal position, and I'd be happy to help anyone who's interested find one or track one down.
So I have a question. Just, if I'm a student in the Jacob School of Music and I have heard about these opportunities, but really just don't know how to imagine what it's like to transition between civilian life into either the reserve or full-time military life, what does it feel like to shift from one to the other as an artist? Give us an idea of what it's like to be going. What are the things that you need to be thinking about, and what's the process that people need to be aware of to be able to transition from one to the other?
Well, if someone at the school would like to see what it's like to be in a military band, they could come down to Fort Knox during a drill weekend when we have rehearsals and sit in with us. They are more than welcome to do that. We'd love to have them come out and play. So they could get an idea of what reserve life is kind of like if they would like to do that. So that's one option.
So they can come and just hang out with you over a weekend. They can come as a guest.
Absolutely. We've had people do that before. We've had people who have auditioned and then decide before they commit to the Army, they want to come and hang out with us for a rehearsal drill weekend is what we call it. And some of them love it. Some of them say, you know what, this is great, but I need more than just one weekend a month type of thing. And they decide to go active duty. So giving them the opportunity to come and hang out with us and get an idea of, yeah, one weekend a month is cool. I like the music. I like everything that's going on here. Or I like this, but I need it full time. We're not that far away. I'm not sure how far Fort Knox is.
Yeah, that's great. I had no idea that it was possible. I mean, that's really great. I had no idea that it was possible to literally go in and as a guest and just see what it's like before you make a commitment to the ensemble or to that sort of position. So, and likewise, what about enlisting? What about transitioning into full time? Yeah, into active.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So it depends. Like Ms. Brooks says, it just depends. What I tell everybody before who don't know if want to go active or part time, I was, like Ms. Brooks says, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. They want to play more. It's really more about where you see yourself. If you really want to play actively, I not only play with the Army bands, but I also gig on the outside. Right. Currently, I don't because I am trying to finish my terminal degree, my doctorate degree. So my wife would probably kill me. So because then I wouldn't be home at all. But there are, as an active duty, I have lots of friends who gig on the outside when it doesn't affect their day job. They're able to expand on doing even more stuff on the outside. I had a friend of mine who did a jazz band every weekend, except when he needed to play. Again, there's a lot of opportunities. It's really about how you manage it and how you go about it. How do you use the benefits? It's something that I try to tell everybody. You have the benefits. There's so many opportunities. Use it wisely. With great power comes great responsibility, right? Like Marvel says. Again, those are the things that we need to that we expect from our musicians because we're trying to make music, and that helps us grow too. When we're not just playing. Within ourselves, we expand and we play outside. I played when I was in Augusta. I played with the symphony there. So when I was in Texas, I did a lot of the musical theater. Again, there's opportunities when active duty is kind of the same thing, except your full-time job is playing with the Army band, and then your part-time jobs are the other one. In the case of the reserve, it's backwards. Your day job is your teacher. I have another friend who works for one of the cell phone companies, and he plays on the weekend. He wanted to keep his chops. Again, it's where do you find yourself? What do you want to see yourself? And it takes a little bit of of really sitting down with yourself and being true to yourself. Where do you want to be? What do you want to be in 10, 15 years, 20 years? For Ms. Brooks, she is in a very good position to teach, and she's, in an orchestra, she feels very comfortable with that, and she just wants to do something else on the side, serve her country. Then that's what she does. In my case, I wanted to play, like she said, some of us just want to play more, and that was me. As I'm towards my end of my career, now I'm like, okay, now I want to ease up a little. So there you go. Hope that helped understand a
It
little bit
sounds
more.
great. It sounds like an amazing set of opportunities. I mean, to have the mixture of both worlds, to
Mhm.
be.
And you can interchange too. I
Yeah.
have friends who've gone from active to reserve and reserve to active. There's options. Again, it just really depends on the person. My experience is totally different from Miss Brooks. Miss Brooks' experience is different from the next person. It's what you make of it. I always like to say it's really the opportunity that you take and you go with it.
So again, if I was a student in the Jacobs School of Music and I just really wanted to know more, I wanted to just jump right in and get to, I know that, the different services have different systems and different ensembles. And is there a general location that has comprehensive information about opportunities in the military?
Our website, army.com, usarmy.com/band. You fill out your information. You will be contacted by me or by one of my colleagues, the other liaisons, and we'll talk about what you like. I'm talking right now to you all about. We talk to the person, the applicant who wants to know more about Army bands. What do you want to do? Where do you see yourself? What are your goals? Are you still in school? Well, this might be the better option. Reserve might be the better option because you can finish school and still serve and get the benefits. If you're about to graduate, you might just want to, and you're doing your performance degree, you might want to be performing, so you might want to come active. But if you're a teacher, like Ms. Brooks says, you might want to gear you have your teaching job and you want to play on the side. There's your side gig, and then you're accumulating benefits. You're accumulating health insurance and all those things. So again, it's really looking to what you want to do and how you fit, and that fits to your lifestyle.
I'm probably not a candidate for the reserve band, but I want to come and hang out for the weekend.
I wanted to jump in real quick and just say hello and thank you for taking the time to be here. It's awesome to hear these options, right? Quick question: what are the retirement does retirement come after 10 years, or are there ways to option out, or is it 30 years? And I guess my follow-up question to you was, do you guys get stationed overseas? What are your, could you tell us a little bit about maybe the excitement with international destinations that might exist?
Well, one thing. Well, let's go to the retirement. Right now, for those of who are coming in, we have what's called a blended system. So it works like a 401k. So let's say you do 4 years, and you invest 5% of your salary. The Army will reciprocate 5% of that, up to 5%. And if you decide to get out after those 4 years, you can take that 401k to anywhere, any system you want. You as long as you don't touch any of it. So you could do 20 years and you'll get that back. As to the overseas, it's always great. I've actually turned down a few overseas because I've already done the overseas prior to the Army. I did cruise ships before, and so. But there's always an excitement. There's always that. I just recently hired a vocalist who's in Korea, and she's loving it. She's just she was quarantined for 15 days, and then she was able to get out, and it was. She was like she was like excited. It's like, great, this is awesome. She's seen a lot of things. I have friends in Germany who are, they travel every week. They'll go when we were able to travel, they still travel, but on their own. They're able to visit places. I have friends who've gone to to see where Mozart was born. Really being the music geeks that we are in our hearts. Oh, I want to go see this. So there's always that excitement, and then go see a good orchestra. So there's so many opportunities, and the fact that you already have a job, it gives you that security that, oh, I can go see this now. And so when you're in this position, I think one of the thing is not get bored. I think that's I've seen a lot of the younger soldiers come in because now they don't have to go to do a side job. They have actually a job playing. They're paid to practice. So they don't have to go whatever they did. Some of them might work at Starbucks. Some of them might take care of someone. I think that's the biggest hurdle for many of the younger soldiers coming in and from what I'm getting, when they so what do I do now? I'm like, do something else. You want to do a recital, do something. We encourage you that. Again, I go back to what I was talking before. The options, the opportunities are there. You just have to be creative. Like Ms. Brooks said earlier, the creativity. You have the power to be creative. You have the ability to be creative. Use it for good, of course. But those possibilities really do exist. Again, it's just up to you. How do you maneuver it, and how do you manage them?
Ms. Woods, do the reserve bands ever tour?
We do a 2-week tour every summer, and we go all over the United States. This year we're going to Texas, and next year we're going to Hawaii. It's not a bad gig.
And another thing with that is that they come and sub for us when we are on vacation. So they'll do the 2 weeks drills to sub some of our active duty bands. So like you said, she's going to Hawaii. I had a band who went to Germany to sub for 2 weeks. Again, so those are the opportunities. Again, there's that accessibility of interchanging.
Well, I just want to thank you both so much for taking the time to reconnect with the Jacobs School of Music. It's been an odd year. We want you to stay in touch.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.